Hi, welcome to The Real Dad Show. On today's episode, I have a special guest. It's my good friend Valerie. We'll be discussing what it's like to be a single parent and a parent of a special needs child. So, we don't really have any sponsors to talk about today. We would like some sponsors, so if anybody out there would like to sponsor us, we'd very much appreciate it. The only thing I do want to draw your attention to is if you can see my new t-shirt. We have the Real Dad Show. Sorry, I get a little tongue-tied sometimes. These are the new t-shirts we made. I also have some cups and some other little Go Gizmos, some car stickers, things like that were just kind of fun to play around with my Cricut. We'll be doing a video sometime in the future on Cricuts and how to use them and all the fun stuff that you can do with them. So stay tuned for those. So let's just get right into the interview. So, Valerie, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
You're
I
welcome.
know we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yes.
And it's just been crazy. Crazy. I've wanted to get you in here, and I'm glad that you were patient enough to work with me and then finally come in.
Of course, of course.
So anyway, let's just get into the interview. So, thank you for joining me again. And let's just start off. How long have you been a single parent?
I've been a single parent since 2014. So we're going on, almost 6 years.
And your daughter is how old?
She's 15.
15, okay. So she was really young.
Yes.
How was that?
It wasn't ever my intention.
It never.
But, of course, of course. But it is what it is.
But how was it? How was your daughter dealing with that in the beginning?
In the beginning, my daughter is on the autism spectrum. It was hard for her. She witnessed a lot of tough moments between her dad and I. So she did go through therapy. At the time, we didn't have aid for that. So we went through House of Ruth because she witnessed a domestic issue. So it was tough. And there were moments where she didn't want to talk to Dad. She didn't want to have anything to do with him. It was very difficult for her to understand and be able to talk about what happened. So it was tough. It was very tough.
You and I have a lot in common. It's very interesting. That's one of the main reasons I also wanted you to be on my show.
Yes.
Is we do have a lot in common. I have a daughter in the autism spectrum. My kids also witnessed a lot of domestic violence. There's a lot of times that they didn't want anything to do with their mother. Even today, at this time, it's been over 6 years that I've been divorced, and they still are working out their relationship with their mother, and it's what it is.
Totally understand.
Yes.
Same thing.
I know how it can be. So, what are some of the things that you come across being a single parent? It's not easy.
It's not easy. Having to make a lot of tough decisions on your own, whether it be with school, her needs, her personal needs, dealing with personal behaviors, especially being a kid on the spectrum. There's a lot of things that she does that typical kids don't do, and having the patience for that.
One of the great things or great advantages that you have is that you work with the school system, so you've been able to work in the schools that your daughter has gone to.
Yes, I'm very blessed. I work at her school currently, and not only so do I have contact with all her teachers, which is fantastic. I also see other kids, and I can recognize different behaviors probably sometimes sooner than some of the teachers.
You're very fortunate.
Yes.
I wish I had that. I know when the kids were younger, I volunteered a lot. So I was at the school pretty much as long as the teachers were. Sometimes I put an 8-hour day. If I was not in the gardens doing gardening, I was the home parent or the room parent.
Room parent.
For
room
both.
mom, room dad, yes.
I was the room parent for both Haley in first grade and Emily in second grade, and I just volunteered a lot in Jesse while he was in kindergarten. So I was always there. So I understand, and it's great
They know
to
you.
be able to do that. It's funny, I went to the high school not that long ago, and I talked to one of the ladies that used to work in the elementary school, and she remembered me right off the bat. And then she's like, yeah, you might want to talk to your daughter because, yeah, And then I get home and my daughter's like, how do you know? Oh my God, Heidi's everywhere.
We know what we know. We know who to talk to.
Yes, we have parent sense. So I know what it's like having daughters, and I was a single parent for a long time. Fortunately, I'm remarried now and I have a wonderful wife who's working the cameras right now. One of these days, she's going to be on this side of the camera because we're going to be doing a special on surrogacy. Sorry, I went blank for a second. We're going to be doing something on surrogacy because that's something we're doing pretty soon, and you'll be able to meet my wonderful wife. But I was a single parent for a while.
Yes.
I raised my twins in my early 30s from the time that they were 6
Oh, wow.
all the way up till, geez, they're 27 now. They still are my sons. And then the little ones, Emily, Haley, and Jesse, for about 4 years before I met Amelia. Four or 5 years. So I was a single parent for quite a while.
Long time.
So I know what it's like dealing with daughters. And there are things that are different from boys, obviously. And I panicked when that happened. I think you were one of the people we talked to, because you were there like telling me it's not that big a deal, but
Yes.
geez, what we me and my daughters affectionately call the moon cycle.
Yes.
That was crazy. I went to the pharmacy and I had a shopping cart of all this stuff. So it was, I know what it's like. So it must be, I like to say having sons was easier than daughters.
Probably for you, it probably would have been harder for me.
So,
I was raised an only child, and my mom was a single parent. I mean, happily though, my mom and dad are very good at communicating with each other, so there wasn't that much, I guess, inconsistency between them. But for me, yes, not having someone to bounce things off with or how to handle certain things, it's been a little hard. And especially the moon cycle. The moon cycle was hard for Bella's first time around. That's my daughter. Because she'd gone through the classes, in the elementary schools, they give them the little breakdown of what to expect. But it happened for her in 6th grade. And yeah, it was an interesting time, to be sure. And of course, having to explain to her how long this lasts and what you do and what you need to take care of, When it was over, she was like, thank God that's over. It's going to happen again next month. Oh my, she was just, yeah, the reaction. She's great at reactions. That is one thing. But yes, it's
one of the
fun.
funny stories I've had was when they had just started. Haley started actually before Emily, and Emily's older than Haley.
Okay.
A couple of months between the two starting, and Emily was starting junior high. So we were talking, how junior high is different from elementary school, and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have 7 periods a day, and Haley's like, ew. I'm like, no, babe.
Not literal.
They're called classes. Each class is broken up into a period, and she just looked at me like, I don't get it. And I understand because some things they think differently.
Yes.
And they're more
Our kids
literal.
are very literal.
They're very literal.
To explain those idioms and
I love
phrases.
Bella. She's such a cool little cat. She's amazing. Bella is very talented. She sang at our wedding.
Thank you.
She sings beautiful. And can she draw? She is an amazing artist.
Yes.
But I know being a single parent, there are so many things that you don't think about. I know you mentioned House of Ruth, but when I was divorcing and I was a victim of domestic violence, there were no places I could call. I tried. I looked in the internet, and there's nothing for men.
Right. I would think it would be very rare, and it would probably feel very uncomfortable to call a place like House of Ruth for a man.
They told me, I did call House of Ruth and asked them if they know of anything, and they're like, no, we've never been asked that. I'm like, well, I know quite a few friends of mine that have been divorced and have been victims of domestic violence. So there's something that maybe you should do. Hopefully this video will
Right,
make
something
people,
that they can look into.
it's something that happens, and it's something a lot of us guys don't like to admit to,
Definitely.
but hopefully we could bring attention to that. So that's topic for another video. But where I was going though is there are a lot of things that we come across, like finances are harder, babysitting is harder, working full-time.
Definitely. I really appreciate that I work in the school system and that I can be with her. But yes, I also feel like if I were to have a full-time job, it's going to take too much time away from her. I don't want her alone. I know there's certain things that she can handle and be on her own. She can be on her own for an hour, 2 hours, 3 max. But to extend that and to actually put that responsibility on her, I think it's too much. You know, to be in charge of, you know, cooking for yourself. She doesn't cook on the stove. She cooks in the microwave. She can clean up after herself. But any extended time like that, I feel a little uneasy about. So I don't spend that much time away from her. So consequently, I don't do very much on my own. And that's kind of the joys of being a single parent, but also a special needs parent. So.
Fortunately, we have you as a friend, and we have a lot of other parents that are friends, so we have a good little network of parents that help out with things that come up. So a lot of that, I have Amelia to work on that, because one of my other issues is I have social anxiety, and it's very difficult for me to sometimes be in social environments and ask people for help and just relate what I'm trying to say. Even now, I know it's just us three in the room, but I still get tongue-tied, and I still struggle for words.
I totally understand that.
But what are some of the things like that? I mean, it's like I mentioned, financing is so much harder.
I'm blessed that I have family. My mom helps us, and I mean, she's always said kind of from day one, she goes, you're mine and she's mine. Never worry, you know, do what you have to do. If you need to apply for CalFresh, if you need to apply for those things, know I'm here for you, I can help you. You know, she wants us to stand up on our own, but she's also like, don't ever feel afraid to ask for help from her. She's like, you're my only thing in life. She goes, everything I have goes to you. And I'm blessed for that, because there are so many people that don't have that. They don't have that. That backup, that support. I'm also blessed that if I have a household thing go down, or, you know, I've had water heaters break down. I've had washers go out. I have a great neighborhood. I have neighbors that are more like family than friends. I call them, we're our own little family too, because we can rely on each other for different things.
It's important.
So
it's important.
know your
to have
neighbors.
It's important to have that network of other parents that understand, and neighbors and friends that can always give you some kind of help.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
So I know I should have prepared for this a lot better. It's just that we have so much in common, and a lot of the same things that Bella's gone through, Haley's gone through. Even though Bella's a year older than her, but still, they're very much the same.
They're
Haley
very
draws.
similar.
Haley loves drawing. She loves dancing. Man, that little girl, you hear her just all this stomping around, and I'm like, what's going on up there? I'm dancing. I need to practice my dancing. I'm like, okay, well, you just go rock on, because I'll be down here dancing. And then and she's, Dad, you're so embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a big time perfectionist when it comes to her drawing. I can show everyone in the world how well she draws, but if she doesn't like one thing, she will rip a page out and start over. She's very critical of herself. She is sometimes overly critical of herself. There was one instance, and I can't remember what it was. It was something where she was just being very stubborn with me. That's another thing I'm sure Haley is too.
Oh,
Very,
yes, very.
very stubborn.
Yes, once she draws her line in the sand, it's very difficult to pull her out of that.
Yeah, she had a project that she was supposed to do for school, and she got it stuck in her head that our computer wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
She was back in summertime thinking, oh, we put in a new router and it doesn't hook up to the computer. I can't do my work. I had to repeat it until I was blue in the face that she could do her work. Once she got started, she was asking me for help. So I'm trying to help her, and it's a project for a specific classroom I'm not in.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to explain something to me, and I'm trying to do things, and no, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. To the point where she got up and walked away, and I had to yell. I don't know if you do, but I never try to yell, because I know when you yell at an autistic child,
Yeah,
they
they
shut down. They're
Yes,
just like,
they do.
that's it, they're done.
You can't yell at Haley because she'll shut down.
Yeah, they just want to go into a corner.
Okay.
So that was a big concern, and it's a struggle. And I ended up apologizing to her. She ended up figuring out what she needed to figure out. But what kind of hurt me, and I don't know if Haley's ever said that to you, she wrote on a piece of paper, I wish I didn't have my autism. I wish it would go away because it makes it hard.
Haley hasn't said that, but what she says is, like the other day she said, my clothes are garbage and my shoes are garbage. And I asked her, well, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I want to dress the way the other girls dress. And I want shoes like the other girls have. And for me, I'm like, I don't understand.
Right.
And I go to Amelia, and Amelia's like, I kind of understand. So I have to go to Emily and ask Emily. And Emily explains to me that, you know, this is what the trend is.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know what little girls wear. I just, but, you know, I understand because I'll ask her. Well, she goes, Dad, I want to be like the other girls. I want to have friends like the other girls. I want to talk like them. I know where she's
Kind of where she's leading
me, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It does. It
Yeah.
breaks my heart to see that and hear that and know I could take her to the most expensive stores and get her the most expensive clothes. And there's always going to be that same.
There's always going to be
I
a
know.
little wall in between her and the so-called normal kids.
Yes.
I don't even like saying that. I did have a teacher, and it wasn't one of Bella's teachers, because I also, again, I'm an instructional aide, so I deal with kids like our daughters every day in all different types of classes, different venues. But I was in an adaptive PE class. Adaptive is more severe than our kids. And I was talking to one of the teachers after, and I was saying stuff about my daughter, and she was like, oh, okay, like that. Oh. And I don't know how she worded it, but she ended up saying something, oh, like my grandson does that, but he's normal. And I was like, it literally made me feel like,
Yeah, it makes you cringe.
you work with these children, and you're basically saying they're not normal. When each one of them, they may have Down syndrome, they may have severe autism, you know, these are the kids that are in adaptive PE. They may be, you know, wheelchair bound, or have, one child has a drain, you know, for an encephalactic drain. But, and she's not calling them normal. I'm like, they're all normal in their own way. They're all normal, especially to their parents. Their parents would have hated to hear something like that. So I took
You couldn't call me normal.
I took
You
no.
couldn't call
I wanted
everybody
to say,
normal.
is anyone really normal?
Yeah.
No, we're all different. But yes, you know, Bella sometimes says that too. You know, I don't have friends, or why do people pick on me instead of someone else?
I was
That
going to
happens
lead
a lot.
into that. I know Haley the other day came to me and said, Dad, I made friends today. And I was like, oh, that's great. She goes, yes, I'm one of the cool kids now. And I'm like, what do you mean you're one of the cool kids? And she's like, well, I met these group of girls, and they're cool. and they came up to me and started talking to me and letting me sit with them, and so they're cool and popular. So now I'm popular, and I'm like, okay, that's great, babe. That's awesome. But one of the things that I've dealt with Haley, in fact, all three of my kids, but mostly with Haley, is bullying. And that was a topic we had, but I lost all the footage to it. And
we can definitely touch on that,
Yes,
because
it was-
our kids
we
stand
deal with bullying.
out, and
do.
they do. Her voice stands out, the way she talks, the way she dresses, the way she walks. I mean, she drags her feet. She's done that since she was little, and I always pick up your feet, do this, speak clearly. She went through speech. She did all these things. She's taking voice lessons now, and like you said, she sang at your wedding. I mean, when she sings, you don't hear any of the funny nasally sound that she uses to talk.
She sings like an angel.
But those things stand out to other kids. And typically the kids I've noticed that bully our kids also have issues. They're emotionally defiant kids. They have emotional disorders. They have learning disorders where our kids are a lot smarter than them, and they know it. So they'd rather, instead of them getting called out and getting picked on for something that they don't understand, they'd rather point out something odd about our kids and frustrate them. So.
You know, one of the things I've noticed though with Haley is she misinterprets things, where a kid would be talking to her and then she will get offended because she doesn't understand what he's saying or she's saying.
Okay.
They may be using like a slang, or they may be joking in a certain way, and Haley doesn't have the social cues or to be able to read social cues.
Yes.
And a lot of times people will misinterpret her and
Right.
what she's trying to say. So like one time she wanted to try to make friends, and her counselor told her, try at lunchtime going up to other kids and introducing yourself and try to make friends that way. So she doesn't know how to do that.
Right.
So I guess she went up to one kid and she had said something, and to her, she thought that was an opening line, but it was an inappropriate line.
Oh dear.
The way she said it came across to this kid, and he was special needs also. So his social cues were whacked, and so was her social cues. So the two of them just came at each other so wrong.
Oh my God.
And we ended up, both of us, I'm sure his parents, but we ended up having to go down to talk to the principal, and it turned out to be a big thing, but it was all a misunderstanding because social cues.
Right. Right.
But bullying has been something that has been a problem for Haley since
Right.
kindergarten.
It's been, I don't know if it stood out so much for her in kinder, but it's by third grade, that's when it kind of, the kids really noticed the differences in her from them. And
Haley
would
couldn't
pick on
speak
her.
in kindergarten.
Okay.
She couldn't speak really clearly until second grade. She would talk. She could speak, but she would talk like I like cake. She would say I want a piece of cake. She would say I like cake. I want to eat cake.
Okay.
And I just thought she was a late bloomer, and teachers came up to us and had a meeting, and they're like, yeah, we want to test your daughter for autism because she's showing those cues. We didn't know anything about autism, so we were like, oh my gosh, my daughter has autism, what is this?
Yes.
And we were crying and everything, and now I look back and I'm like, I was crying?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that wasn't necessarily how I felt. I was kind of deflated, I think, when the teacher said it, but of course her teacher, it did start in kinder where her teacher was like, I think she's autistic. And what was funny was my ex at the time, he was a one-on-one aide in high school for an autistic child. And you would think between the two of us that he would have been more, oh, okay, now I see. He was so like, nope, she's wrong. She's wrong. She's just slower in certain things. That's not it. That's not it. We're going to move her. We're going to change schools. He wanted to change from one location to another, just based on that. And I think that was the last time he ever went to a meeting, a
Wow.
teacher's meeting, the parent-teacher conference. I want to say I went through parent-teacher conferences from then. Maybe he came to one more.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, and I didn't look at it so much as, I guess, crying and upset, but I was like, oh, this is going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also have a nephew who's on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I had already kind of been around it. I'd already seen my cousins go through it and, you know, trials and stuff. And he was one that he started talking and then stopped talking.
Ah.
So we saw that and
Uh-huh.
did a lot of repetitive things. So I saw that and I at least had someone to gauge, like, this was also before they said it's a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, she doesn't do this, but she does this. So maybe it's not as strong as his is, you know. Okay, you're telling me she is? Okay, fine. I'll deal with it. I'll do what needs to be done to help her. But yeah, it wasn't until 3rd grade when true bullying kind of came out, where they would pick on her for her differences,
Mm-hmm.
for her nasally talk, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the way she spoke, the way she carried herself, where she wouldn't want to play with others. She'd rather sit in the corner
Mm-hmm.
and look at bugs or look at flowers, you know, whatever, when she was little. Now she'd rather sit and look at her phone, teenager, or pull out her sketchbook and draw. It's, why do I need to talk to the world when I have this? That's how she is. She's very selective. And if anyone approaches her, she's very leery of anyone that approaches her.
That's important.
She wants to know, are you approaching me because you like me or you want to make fun of me?
Okay. You know, one of the other topics we could touch on there is not only our kids are teenagers, so they're glued to their phones, but my daughter also likes, well, she ends up spending a lot of her time online because that's where her comfort zone is.
It's easier for them.
But
It is
there's
easier.
so much danger out there.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
I really limit what kind of social media she has. She really only got on most social media within the last year. And she's not on things like Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. She started with a social app called Wattpad. And it's a writing app
Mm-hmm.
where people write fan fiction. Like, say they like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to write their own story of what Sonic might do with maybe a favorite character of theirs. They'll put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess she had started reading stories online,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Mom, I want to join. I have stories to tell."
Mm-hmm.
So I prefaced it by saying, "Okay, let me research it. Let me find out the pros and cons about this website. Any social media is going to have bullying." In the end, I told her, "You can have it if it's linked to my email."
Mm-hmm.
So any notification she gets from a person, it goes through me. And I can see if they're being inappropriate, how old they are, you know, all these things. Like, I can see what they're asking her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it started. She started with that, and lately probably within the last 6 months, she wanted to join Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, I said, it has to be linked to me. She wanted to join YouTube. It has to be, you know, everything
Mhm.
basically
Mhm.
goes through me. And I
Mhm.
see every notification, and I told her, if I ever see anyone being inappropriate with you or saying something unkind, whatever, I need you to understand that you can block them, and if you don't, I will.
Mm-hmm.
So she does get that. It's just, yes, she spends a lot of time, you know.
Well, you're fortunate
Looking
to
at
have
those
your
things.
daughter with you all the time.
Yes.
I have shared custody, so I
Yes.
have my kids 1 week and they're 1 week with mom.
Yes.
So whenever they're joining some kind of social media, it's usually on mom's week.
Okay.
So I don't know what's going on, and then I'll find out when they get back, what are you doing there? Oh, this is this and there's that. Well, how did you get that? Mom said it was okay. So
That's tough.
we have a couple of like Facebook and stuff that I will sign in
Mhm.
and then give it to them and let them go through it. But of course, it's my emails,
Right.
so I know what's coming in and out of it.
Yes.
One of the things that is similar is Haley's been doing TikTok.
Okay.
Have you
I've
heard of
seen that.
TikTok?
Yes.
Haley does
I've
her
heard that
drawing.
from the kids.
She loves drawing. So what she'll do is she'll put like a little storyboard and add it to music, and she'll make like almost like a little cartoon presentation thing.
Okay.
And that's what she posts on there.
Okay.
So I guess that's a way for her to let out her creativity.
It is definitely, for kids like ours, it's a lot easier for them to socialize that way.
Mm-hmm.
It gets them a little more comfortable, because I've noticed too now Bella understanding some of those phrases and terms. Because she'll say something, I'll be like, where did you hear that? Oh, somebody wrote it on Twitter. And I'll say, do you understand what that means? Yeah, it means this. It's just a joke. I'm like, okay.
One of the things that scare me about it is that they will become so comfortable online that they
don't want to
socialize
interact.
in the real world.
Yeah.
So I try to bring Haley out of that. Even when we're having, like, say, movie night or game night, Haley, you kind of have to like pull her to come on down, spend some time with us, because otherwise she wants to spend her whole time in her room.
Right.
And it's nice for her because she has a room that she can go to, you know, so she takes advantage of that. So what else would you say? What are the other struggles that you would come across? I know it's always a blessing to have children.
Yes.
And for us, struggles are not struggles. They're just
They're
milestones
and hurdles,
you know?
yes.
Yes. I love being a dad. I've always wanted to be a dad. I love being a dad, so all these little things are just things you have to...
They're learning and teachable moments. I think that's how I mean, she amazes me, and every day with what she knows, how smart she is. I mean, sometimes I think my biggest fear is her not succeeding. You know, not being able to succeed in life beyond high school, beyond that. You know, I do sometimes wonder, how is she going to be once I'm no longer around?
6 years. I got 6 years before Haley graduates from high school, and I'm like, I want her to go to college. I want her to have a career, and it scares me that she may not have that opportunity, because as much as I will help her and encourage her, it's still up to her to do it. Right. You know, and it's also difficult to find sponsorships, what do you call them, scholarships, and all these things that are out there, because there's so many other kids that are applying for them, and it scares me. Where is Haley going to be in 10 years? You know, I would love my kids to always be with me, but you want your kid to experience life. And you want them to at least gain that, to know how to be responsible for themselves, to understand independency also. The independence, responsibility, taking care of maybe not a household, but taking care of themselves, knowing, you know, laundry's got to get done and the bills got to get paid and I've got to eat. So, you know, also knowing how much, you know, they have to spend or how much they need to make in order to live the lifestyle they want. You know, I am glad that in school, she was a freshman last year, one of the classes, it was called Tech Core, and I thought, what's Tech Core? And it's a computer class, and they taught them different aspects on the computer, but they actually had to make a schedule of, they had to list like what job they wanted, how much it paid, where would they be living if they were working this job, they had to know transportation, really cool. They had to know how much, you know, money was going towards bills a month and all, Of course, it was funny because Bella put aside $1 million for a Disney pass, and I said, they don't cost that much. I said, because if they did, we'd never She
go.
loves Disney.
We'd never go.
Disney's big with your family.
Yes, I think that was her thing, was as long as I have a Disney pass included, if I can afford that, I'm good. But yes. But no, she did, you know, she had to research how much housing was where the school was she was attending, or where the job she wants, which she wants to be an animator, how much that job pays, and where most animators, you know, live, like where they kind of circulate, or, you know. She had to find all that stuff out. Does she remember that right now? Probably not, but I know at least she had to do it, so it's up there. It's working. It's working in the gears.
Excellent.
So, will she spend more time? Will our kids spend longer with us? Yes. I think that's a given. But I think they'll get there.
I have faith that
Yeah.
Haley will get there.
Yeah.
I know our kids will get there. And think we have a really good support system, and that's what
Definitely.
helps them. A lot of kids on the spectrum don't have that.
Mhm.
You see so many horror stories out there where kids who are autistic are living with their parents in their 50s, and they're not that far on the spectrum.
Mhm.
You know, it's just the parents never encourage them to go out and do anything else.
To do more.
Mhm. Well, it's been a long interview.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we covered quite a
I
bit.
think we did. I think we covered everything. I don't see anything else right now. I know we can always have a part 2. You're
Yes.
always welcome to come back
Anytime.
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 And if you ever have any ideas that you want to talk about,
Sure.
that would be
course.
awesome. So,
Of course.
I think we'll just wrap it up.
All right.
Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. A lot of upcoming ideas. I've got some stuff in the works, so stay tuned. Also, once again, like my video, subscribe to my video, hit that notification button so that you always know whenever I post a new video. Exciting stuff are coming up. Remember my catchphrase? Anybody can be a father, but it takes a special person to be a dad. Dads come in all shapes and sizes.
They can even be moms.
Moms, dads, male, female, both, or either, or none. There's just so many things out there. It's just important to be a positive role model to your kids and get involved with your kids. Well, that's about it. Otherwise, I'll talk all night. Thanks again for joining me. God bless.